So, Tom, welcome to THN's Road to Grimmfest. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule. You will be screening at Syphon at Grimmfest. You've been to the festival before. What is it about the festival that you like?
Of all the film festivals I've ever been to, the best actual screening, like the quality, the presentation, my first film at Grimmfest in 2019, it had never looked that good or sounded that good. And the screen is so big. So when I walked into the theater, it was almost like I didn't realize that was the movie I did. I was like, oh, what is this that sounds cool, you know? And it sounds so big. And then I remember looking at the screen and being like, whoa, that's my movie, but it looks way better. Like it was just such a weird experience. Like I don't know what it is with the up conversion or something when it comes to the screen. And so that always stuck with me because it was like the quality of the screening, the actual like dorky, nerdy stuff that filmmakers probably want when they submit a film and it gets accepted. That is like level 10 at Grimmfest. So, yeah, with this film, I wanted kind of a bigger presentation and I kind of like wanted that type of screening for it. So, that was like one of the first fests that popped into mind was Grimmfest. So that was like the big standout for me.
And obviously, you are familiar with the festival and the crowd that goes there. So, what do you think they're going to make of Syphon?
I think people are going to react at the screen. I don't know because I've never really been to a screening where people get kind of rowdy, but I think this is the film that allows them to. So I'm very curious to see how it plays out. Like normally when a movie plays in a theater or any type of screening that I've done, I'm I'll do the intro and then I'm out of there. Like I will find the closest sushi spot or whatever. I'm out of there, and I'll come back for the Q&A because it's like almost embarrassing for me to like sit through and watch the movie again. Plus, as I'm sure you've heard, like every filmmaker say, we've seen the movie more times than you could ever even think someone would watch something. And I was the editor on this. I wrote the script, so it's like I've replayed this movie like it will be playing in my brain till I'm like 65. Like I'm good. I don't need to see it. But I feel like this is the first time I've done a film where as I was doing it and cutting scenes and kind of producing them up so they have these fun little moments that I felt like if I'm in the audience watching this, like this would cause me to have some sort of reaction. So I'm actually like really looking forward to testing that theory and seeing if I'm like right or if I'm completely wrong. Like I'm interested if people are going to be super like riotous or if they're going to be terribly scary silent. Like are
I don't think
they
they're going to
like
be that.
I feel
I
like
don't think it'll be
people will
that.
get a little wild, but you never know. You don't want to hype up something too much and then you're there watching it and you're like, this is the moment, right? When the thing, huh? Like nothing happens, you know? But yeah, I mean I think the crowd will, especially if it's some of the people who came to the screening 5 or 6 years ago of my last feature, I think they'll see like a lot of growth, and I think they'll there's a lot more moments to be reactive with this film, I think.
And where did the idea for Syphon come about?
Uh, my previous feature was a horror film that had a lot of action in it, and the truth is, I've primarily grown up on action,
Mhm.
and I love action, all types of action, and that's what I've always wanted to do. And I feel like my first film was me trying to like work within the horror genre and turn something into action, and instead I should have just been like more maybe honest with myself or something and been more just chasing action because the action's like in my blood. Like I have to do action, you know? And so Siphon came from this like after my first feature, I tried to get other features off the ground forever and failed. And there was many like, this one's gonna happen, this one's gonna go, and it never did. And I kept trying to chase these bigger and bigger productions, which I feel like is a huge mistake that all first-time filmmakers make when they go to their second film. And it cost me a lot of time. So I thought, you know what? I'm just gonna do what's in my blood. I gotta do an action movie before I die. And that's it. By any means necessary. I don't care if it's a smaller production. I don't care how it gets done. It just got to get done because like it needs to come out of me. Like I have to do this. I have to do like I can't die without doing this. Like literally, that's what I was saying every day. Like it would not leave me. And around the same time, I had we had a child. So there was this like ticking clock of like, bro, you got to do this now. You're running out of time, you know? And so, yeah, I immediately started writing. I got with the producer, Jeffrey Decker, who's also one of the lead actors in the film. And he really liked the idea. And then we just kind of started pulling resources together. And, David Christopher Pitt got involved. He's a DP, and Matt Stewart's got involved, who's also a DP, and they really like the concept. And so we kind of all just like stuck our heads together and we're like, "What's the best way to pull this off?" And we're all like, "By any means necessary." No money, 6 people on set, let's do it. And that's how it happened. So, yeah, it was just this project that had to come out of me. Like, action is like, it just everything in my being is like, the type of content I really want to be doing. So it was time to make it happen.
Well, you mentioned that obviously this is a film that's kind of made on a shoestring budget, but it doesn't look that way when you watch it. How did you kind of go about, stretching those funds to achieve, what you have done?
Well, part of it was just like leveraging a lot of relationships that I've built over the past 20 years. The producer, Jeff Decker, has built over the past 20 years. There was a lot of locations that I knew I wanted to shoot at that I thought, God, that'd be really expensive to do it that way. Do we know anybody who, like, for example, there's a scene that takes place in a car wash, and I always thought, man, to do something in a car wash, do I need all these you know, safety precautions and guilds involved and all this? Uh, you know, do I need ambulances on set? What do I need to make sure this is safe? And then I was kind of like, well, let's just find a car wash and just put me on a car and let me go through it. Let's see. Let's see what I need. And sure enough, that's how we tested the safety. And I was fine. Maybe I still have a concussion. I don't know. But for the most part, I feel fine. No, I mean it was really, really safe. And we were able to use like a lot of different shooting techniques to make things feel a lot more dangerous than they were. And so yeah, I mean, the way we pulled it off was just by pulling resources together and getting people involved who really wanted to be a part of the film, and also by, wearing a lot of hats, just like most kind of indie filmmakers do. Like I was in charge of choreographing the fight scenes, but also, uh, I knew what I wanted from a directing perspective. So it kind of helped us move quicker, which in most cases, without you wearing multiple hats, you would have to go to your stunt team, then you'd have to talk to the fight choreographer, then you'd have to lay out the fight scene, then you'd have to give notes, then you'd have to go practice on location, then you'd have to go shoot it after walking it through. And so we eliminated all those steps by just me kind of filling out multiple roles. So I think that was kind of like the big secret is just we filmed in the same type of area as well. So we didn't have a lot of, company moves, crew going from here to here and here. And we had a very tiny crew. Like we're talking like 6 people, which is how I think all movies should be made, you know, no matter the size. Like I love the idea of just like 6 people having fun and being letting these creative juices flow, and that's how it gets done.
Yeah, that's fair. And like you say, you did the fight choreography. What was that experience like? You say you kind of like grew up on action. So it must have been quite fun to get to kind of create your own scenes that potentially the next generation is going to grow up watching.
Yeah, for me, I sometimes I see this in scripts where there's 2 ways to go about it. You could either script out all the action, or you can write. Then a fight happens, and this person they struggle, but this person comes out on top and looks like a warrior or something. To me, I've always been more so the type who writes it all out, and I feel like when I'm doing that, I have my editor hat on, and I'm editing the fight scene as I go. And then when we're there and we're blocking the scenes and we're walking them or we're practicing these fight scenes, it's really just taking what's on the page and laying it out within the environment we're in. So if I know I wrote that this guy eventually gets knocked out, I'm just trying to make it work in the setting we're at. So that part was actually like, it felt somewhat seamless. It was more so getting things to feel like organic when we're there and not very rehearsed. Sometimes I feel like there's a lot of rehearsal and fight scenes where these like there's this great technique, but people are so like pristine and clear that it feels more like a dance than it should. And if you've ever seen any video of like on the internet of two people fighting, it's like so ugly and gross and like just like you can never get off a clean strike ever. And that's kind of the action I feel like I want to gravitate more towards. It's just this like eye clawing, just disgusting. No one can really perfect a technique because that's it's chaos. Like real fights are chaos and real scenarios like that are very chaotic. So yeah, I mean, it was just about taking what was on the page and making it work in the environment. So yeah, it was pretty seamless. I thought it worked well.
And you must have obviously then had, game actors, because they go, toe to toe quite a few times throughout the film.
Yeah, I mean, at first there were certain aspects of certain scenes where they were a little apprehensive, but when they see like the dumb director doing it as well, like I'm like, no, believe me, it's safe to go through a car wash and try to do like stunts on top of a car. And they're like, how do you know? I'm like, watch, you guys film me do it. And then I did that. So I always try to like script something that I would also do. Now, mind you, I have a background in wrestling, so I'm insane. But also, I always try to like walk people through stuff and show them, me doing it so they could say, well, I mean, shit, if he's doing it, then kind of we have to, because like the last thing you want is to, you know, invite someone to go jump into a volcano, and then they're like, "Well, that doesn't seem safe," and you're like, "Yeah, no," like you want to be able to be like, "No, the volcano's safe. I tested it. Here's me going inside it. There's no actual fire in it. We're okay," or lava, I guess it would be, but yeah. So, um, they were definitely game, and I think that it just there were certain things that needed some of that like walkthrough clearance, and we took safety precautions. People had padding on and everything like that, but I mean they were also just like very game to get gritty, and that's what you want. It's a gritty movie, right? So they were game, and I think the performance is like I think it stands out in the film. There's a lot of action that's like feels a little more memorable because of some of the kind of like camera trickery and the grittiness of the actors just willing to do it. Like I feel like some of those moments got captured really well.
And like oftentimes this sort of film, it'll start off very sort of like dialogue driven for the first half, and then we eventually get to the action. But here you kind of chose a different path. It kind of starts action, and then we move into dialogue, and then we sort of get back into the action. Why did you decide to tell the story in that way?
Well, I mean, kind of for the exact reason you just said is it's not something I've seen a lot of, and it felt like a funner way to go about this story, to just kind of kick off and here we go with just a brief character introduction and move the story right along. And also, there's this weird idea at play of um, I'm not sure the best way to put this, but it to me, Syphon feels like an action movie that slightly turns into a play and then turns back into an action film. And that was something that was like it wasn't necessarily the original intention, but as the writing came about and as the performances came about, it really worked that way. And it just felt like unique, like something I hadn't seen before. And so that was one of my main goals is like just differentiation. Like, how do I differentiate this action film from other action films? How do I have a compelling story with good action, but also just like present it any other type of way rather than just a standard like this is how we do it. Step one, step two, step three. I was like, nah, let me just try something. Let me see how this feels. And I like the idea of sucking people in with a lot of action, which is what you come for, then giving them a little story, and then maybe we see where that plays out and takes us. So that was the main idea behind that kind of that form, that execution.
And the story itself with it, without going into too many spoilers, it feels like a very current and prevalent one. You've got your, one person who is, living unhoused, and that's partially because of a cyber sort of a cyber attack on them. And that's something that unfortunately a lot of people are dealing with, so it's got that action, but then it also has this, quite poignant message as well.
Yeah, I think the underlying theme, if I could say so, would be the Twitter sphere, or I guess it's X now, but like this idea of like everyone's shouting and everyone's guilty, but we're not getting to the root cause of it and nothing's being solved. That said, I'm still going to shout, and I'm going to shout even louder than you, but you're going to shout back. And it's like this world of people targeting and just screaming into the void. And I just thought that's really fascinating, the idea of like people working that way. And that's kind of what's behind the characters. One, is potentially driven by revenge. One is potentially driven by something else, maybe, and it's very interesting because they end up very similar, but they're initially completely separate, like two totally different entities. But yeah, I mean, it just kind of it's like a metaphor for Twitter for me. It's just like this idea of just like misguided anger, targeting, yelling into the void, and like everyone's guilty whether they know it or not. It's like this very I think right now that's kind of the world in a way. Is there's just this constant screaming. There's no like return, but there's constant like you know. So that's in a nutshell. That's Syphon right there.
And you mentioned earlier on that this was a very small crew, but this is a crew that didn't stay behind the scenes. I think most of them also get in front of the camera as well. There's a little dancing, a little dance routine. How long did that take you guys to learn?
Yeah, Daniel Schrieffer. Oh man, uh, that's we had that in the script, and then the day of, I mean, that was just like so fun to shoot. Like, so many of us were, when you do a small film in general, just working with a small crew, like you don't have actors for every role. It's just impossible. And so yeah, we just decided to have like a lot of fun with that. And yeah, I mean, I'll leave it for people to watch to see that portion of the film. But even down to, some of the music that was created by crew members and friends, lifelong friends. There's a song that plays inside a car wash that's literally about going to a car wash. It's like a kid's song. That was written by my friend Landon, just just for fun for this movie. And then when we did that scene, I was like, that like really works. And like I kind of want to download the MP3 of that. Like it's just so funny and stupid. Um, and yeah, I mean, kudos to Daniel Schrieffer's dancing ability. I mean, who knew he had it in him? I mean, a lot of direction, but yeah, he killed it.
But it was, as an independent, filmmaker, it must be, so rewarding that, you do have, these other people who are willing, to come and put in the long hours and graft it to help you achieve, your idea.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, most indie films just do not get done based on money or anything else. It's always just like heart, passion, and the amount of work people put in. And yeah, I mean, this one it was hard. It was like a huge mountain to climb, like everyone had to wear very many hats. I had like 16 or 17 jobs, and that's just the way you got to do it. But yeah, I mean, that's what got it done. It's kind of like what we call that sweat equity, like just who was willing to, we called it being down to clown. Like who's just down to do this? Like who just loves filmmaking? And I mean, you'd be surprised, it's few and far between now. But that's just the way it is. Like that's why I did the project. And yeah, anytime you step into something like this, you just got to find like-minded individuals who are just down to clown, as it were. So yeah.
I guess, my final question to you, why do you hope that people take a chance on Syphon?
Syphon is a different type of action film, and I think for people who really enjoy like high octane, visceral moments and scenarios and that kind of return to high concept action, I think this is a very to me, it felt like a newer execution of it. Someone else may watch it and be like, well, I don't know. Yeah. But to me, it felt like very new and fresh in terms of the execution. I also think that there's a lot more in it than just fists and drop kicks, although there are a lot of fists and drop kicks. So, um, and I think that one of the other elements I'm chasing is I really like producing up these moments that feel they're a little outlandish in a way, but they're also very grounded they're like rooted in desperation. Like there's a scene with a character who wraps his arm in barbed wire, and stuff like that is like, why would you ever do that? But also it's like it's this form of desperation that character's out. He's at to survive, and at the same time it's this kind of like outlandish over the top moment, but there's a grounded way to present it, and I really like that concept moving forward versus like right now you might see something in an action capacity that's like based in wire fighting and these other elements. Well, Siphon's a lot has a much smaller budget than any of those types of films. So we really have to think out of the box in terms of presentation for these scenes and creation of these moments. And so that's why I think people should give it a shot and check it out because I think it's kind of like a fun ride, with like, I mean, it's the most, I said this before, it's the most barbed wire, blood drenched fights and car washes types of film I've ever directed. So, you know, and I've never been able to say that about anything else. So, yeah.
And obviously, for those that can't make it to Grimmfest, it's also screening in the US. I think it's screening at Film Quest. Is that right?
Screening of Film Quest as well. Yes.
Cool. So yeah, so there's the opportunity for people on both sides of the Atlantic to get it watched. So yeah, thank you for your time and best of luck with the screenings.
Yeah, thank you.